All right, guys. So today is Monday. It's kind of a, they organized economic data kind of weird the last few weeks, where it's all next week is the biggest week for earnings. This week we got Tesla earnings. Next week we have GDP, PCE data, non-farm payrolls, unemployment. I believe Apple, Amazon, a bunch of other earnings. Let me see. So next week I believe is the busiest week for earnings. So yeah, next week. This week we still have Tesla earnings the day after tomorrow. So we still got Tesla earnings, but next week is busier for sure. Next week we have Ford. What else we got? SoFi, PayPal, BP, Pfizer, McDonald's, Royal Caribbean, Crocs, JetBlue, American Tower Corporation, AMD, Google, Snapchat, Chipotle, Visa, Reddit. What else we got? Eli Lilly, Caterpillar, Humana, Global Payments, Alaska Air, Microsoft, Supermicro Semiconductors, Meta, Coinbase, Nova, Etsy, Robinhood, Riot, Carvana, Starbucks, Airbnb, Roku, eBay, MGM, Teladoc, Uber, Shopify, Peloton, Merck, Estee Lauder, Sirius, ConocoPhillips, MasterCard, Roblox, Altria, Spirit Airlines, Shell, Bristol Myers, Comcast, Cinemark, Amazon, Apple, Intel, SQ, Team, Ring Energy. We just got so much stuff, dude, and they're doing it like, yeah, we got so much stuff. Fubo. And so, yeah, just a gang of stuff next week. This week's a little slow still. I mean, we got Tesla earnings. We're going to do a poll like we always do. Are you bullish or bearish on this quarter's earnings season? All right. Vote on the poll. Let me know how you feel. There's the poll live. What's up, chat? So, I mean, one of the things I've been looking at investment wise is investing in trailer parks. And I know like the flaws of that type of business are that, sometimes in trailer parks, you don't have the best, let me think of the most delicate way to put this. You don't have the easiest tenants. And so, but I heard it can be profitable. Now, I'm not really interested in buying like somebody selling their already established trailer park. I think it'd be more interesting to create your own and then either resell it later down the line or just live off the residuals from that. And so that's something I'm looking into now as well. Market is forming a top for a longer term reversal. Maybe. I mean, listen. It's a big couple week period. Like this week and next week are pretty big. This week, the biggest thing is Tesla earnings on Wednesday. That might set the tone. Tesla, when you look at it, is down some. So here's Tesla. So like Tesla is down a little bit. It was a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And really the whole market has kind of turned early this morning. Like you can kind of see the whole market turn a little bit now. It was green. Now it's red. I'm trying to see if there's a reason for that. We have some ECB members speaking. They said, one of them said that if accelerated pace and disinflation is confirmed, the ECB will be in a strong and comfortable position to continue the easing cycle. October cut leaves December meeting wide open and remains flexible and ready to act appropriately. And that's the European Central Bank. I'm trying to see any other news that might be out that might influence things. We have some updates according to Reuters citing the German finance ministry where they say the world economic outlook remains complicated, particularly into global challenges. Taking into account global challenges, just to correct that. Aside from that, we don't really have any big earnings today. We do have some earnings tomorrow. So today, nothing really big. We have some earnings this week. Like tomorrow, we've got Verizon, 3M, GM, GE, RTX, Lockheed Martin, Quest, Denny's, a couple other stuff tomorrow. And then tomorrow evening, nothing big enough for me to really stream, but tomorrow evening we've got like Enphase, Texas Instruments, Innova, Baker Hughes, JBT Corporation, Valaris, a couple other small ones. And then Wednesday morning we got Boeing, Coca-Cola, AT&T. So we do have some earnings this week. It's not like this week we have nothing. Next week's just much, much busier. Hey, what's up, Beach Bum? So my whole family went to jiu-jitsu on Sunday and trained a little bit. My wife sparred with my daughter. It was entertaining. And my wife kind of won. You know, they both did good. My daughter did great. But, you know, the dishes were on the line is what it was. So the loser had to do the dishes. And Carol won. So shout out to Carol. She did pretty good. Nobody really tapped the other one out. Carol just was able to break guard and pass, which is what the goal was. But it was good. It was fun. CVS. CVS is interesting. I think a lot of these brands, though, like CVS, Walgreens, a lot of these standalone conventional pharmacies have been they've been on a downward trend for the last few years. Really, I don't know, when I hear CVS, I'm thinking of Walgreens. Like, for whatever reason in my head, and maybe this was a misconception regarding all of it, but for whatever reason in my head, I always thought that Walgreens was somehow like a stronger company than CVS. But in hindsight, it looks like CVS. Like, if we pull up their margins as an example here. I'll put up their revenue graph, right? So here's CVS revenue. Let's let it load. Is it going to load? Yeah, so here's, wait, that's a trailing 12-month. Quarterly. Why does it look like this here? Oh, it's got like a mobile. There we go. That's better. Okay. I don't know why it gave me a mobile view. I had to fix the URL there to fix it. But yeah, so CVS revenue is pretty good. Looks pretty good. Now we can put up like Walgreens, which is WBA. And Walgreens looks noticeably worse in terms of revenue. I'm curious about the EPS. Revenue is like ceiling. Margins are EPS. EPS is the margins basically behind it all. And again, if we look at, what is this, CVS margins, they're not the greatest. They're getting worse and worse and worse. And this makes sense. Like the story checks out just in terms of, you know, over time technology is going to render some of these physical commercial businesses more obsolete. I'm not going to say fully obsolete, but over time it makes sense that their margins are getting worse here, which is what this shows relative to the share price. Now this is CVS. I'm curious about what we're going to get regarding Walgreens. I don't even see one. Okay, here's Walgreens. I don't know, for whatever reason, I keep putting a mobile. I'm gonna fix the URL here. There we go. Alright, so yeah, Walgreens, on the other hand, is losing money versus CVS, which is just kind of losing margins, like not as profitable as it once was. If you look at Walgreens, Walgreens is actually going down. It's actually losing chunks of money here. And again, I don't know either of these companies super close, but I do think it's important to show like CVS seems to be the stronger company. Thoughts about AMC? When are AMC earnings? AMC earnings are in November. Any reason why oil is running? My guess is like geopolitical uncertainty is usually, if you see oil running any particular day and you don't know why, a lot of the time it's because like conflicts are happening, right? As conflicts happen, the price of oil goes up. And so that's one of the ways you can look at like CL or /CL, whatever it is on your platform, and you can kind of see oil running up a little bit. All right, guys, so we do have a bounce up a little bit. Let's see what else we got. There it is. All right, cool. Uncertainty about war. Yeah, that's kind of how it goes. Oil, Singapore leak, stimulus, upward channel on chart. Just broke all-time highs. Again, oil. Yeah, oil up to 70.24s. It's not all-time highs, though. Not in oil futures, at least. All-time highs in oil futures are 130. So you must not be talking about oil. Gold. Okay, yeah, you're talking about gold. So here is Tesla. I could also put gold chart up here. Yeah, gold's still breaking all-time highs. Looking strong. We'll see if that holds. What is happening with the NASDAQ 100 and the other indexes this morning? They were dipping down a little bit. I'm not sure why. I guess maybe like conflict news mixed with, you know, sometimes oil and indexes can have an inverse correlation just because conflicts are not necessarily good for the economy, or sometimes they're good. It's nuanced for sure. But I guess the point is, maybe that's why these things are dropping. Could be anticipation leading into it. I do see some news about conflicts overseas that could be dragging it down. October, pretty sure this, yeah. All right, guys. So we're hanging out here. US dollar. Cash. Yeah, so Walgreens, man, and part of me is like, hey, was Walgreens gonna be around in a few years? I don't know, man. I really don't know. I think it's up in the air for sure, whether Walgreens gonna be around or not. And I think CVS has a brighter future. Even Walgreens, like even my experiences in Walgreens stores, like going to Walgreens, I've been yeah. Walgreens seems a little rough the last couple years. Maybe it's just my own experience with the one I'm in. But check back on chat. Debt crisis, gold up. Yeah, a lot of people hedging with gold. If you look at like gold, what's the Vanguard real estate ETF, VNQ? You know, you can also see like real estate's been heating back up as well. You know, you got to think what people hedge against the US dollar with. And a lot of the time they hedge with S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. They hedge with real estate. They hedge with gold, obviously, silver, which is SI/SI. You know, silver breaking at least recent highs. Are these the all-time highs? No. So all-time highs for silver are 50-50. But silver breaking recent highs at 34.30s. We'll see if that moves anything here as well. Yeah, I don't know anything about CLLV. I think it's a penny stock that's been pumped and dumped a lot. A lot of people gotten really hyped on it, and then it's basically crashed. You know, this thing got up to almost $30 a share in 2021, really in the meme movement. It then fell all the way back down to under $1 a share. It's now at $4 a share. I'm cautiously optimistic with it, but I'm skeptical as well, of course. Yeah, Bitcoin. I'm just ready to get this over with, dude, to be honest, man. I really am just ready to get this over with. Bitcoin almost got up to 70K. You know, remember, lifetime highs for Bitcoin at around 74,500. Well, I think there's a very specific nuance. Ty said silver should easily be at 50 now. There's a very specific nuance in which metals that the tech industry uses heavily, there's pressures on those metals to be more affordable because, you know, the tech industry uses them heavy, right? So they want better margins with their stuff, and so there's a lot of like pressure that's hard to see, specifically in terms of silver, right? With silver, somebody talked to me last week and said, hey, well, silver's underperforming gold, maybe it's a good buy, and maybe it is. It might be a good buy, right? But the difference between gold and silver in that regard is that silver is used a lot with like smartphones and technology, and so there's going to be different added pressure to keep it affordable versus gold, which is less used. They still use that some, but it's less used for tech and technology, I think, right? And so there in turn is more potential appreciation in that regard from it. You know, you don't really use silver with jewelry as much anymore, as opposed to like gold, like white gold, stuff like that. But again, I'm just throwing stuff out there. I might be wrong here, and if I'm wrong, let me know. You know, I'm open to hearing it. USA. Yeah, I mean, again, the one thing that's going to help the debt is inflation, right? People underestimate how, like, inflation does stuff. But, like, you know, as time goes on, inflation is less significant, you know? And so, like, there is a factor there that a lot of people, you know, over time our debt's going to be less significant, I guess is the point. You know what I mean? All right, chat. So will natural gas keep rising? My neighbor takes sacks of sand, breaks it down in his garage. He says he can do about it. Well, what's the benefit of that? Is that a business expense? Again, does anybody have any experience buying trailer parks or building trailer parks? I think one of the things I've seen is that tiny house parks is going to be a better business investment in that way, right? Yeah, silver's used a lot. So silver is actually used really heavy. I guess it would all hinge on approval. Yeah, we closed on it, Maria. Yeah, it's done. Like, we already got it. We're kind of renovating it a little bit more. We're gonna fix the island up and do some stuff in it, and we'll probably be renting it out pretty soon. What's the symbol? Is it a commodity? SAS? So is it /U something? I'm not sure the symbol for uranium. Oh yeah, well this is an ETF about it. Does it have a commodity symbol, like a future symbol? Yeah, thank you, Maria. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right, guys, looking at our poll numbers here, we did a poll. 61% are bullish on this quarter's earnings season. So we have earnings season. Again, in the next 3 weeks, we've got all the major earnings. The big one is the climax of earnings season with, I think it's Nvidia, but Nvidia earnings are not going to be until like the end of November, right? So yeah, Nvidia earnings are not until November 20th. So earnings season is here. And really this week, we only have one big earnings report, which is Tesla. You know, we've got some other small ones in the morning, but the big ones are yeah, the big ones are specifically next week, right? Along with, and next week's going to be really busy for me just because we got so much stuff going on. We really do. Like next week is packed full of stuff. We have all the major earnings reports that you could probably think of. Ford, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Snapchat. Like every major earnings report is next week for the most part, except for Tesla, which is this week. We've already had a lot of bank earnings, but this will give volatility to the market. So we will have some volatility in markets from this. And it's an important thing to understand. So we will get some type of volatility from this. Nvidia down there too, man. I'm trying to see what it is. Does anybody know the big chip news? Let me see if we have any big chip news today regarding all this stuff. All right, so is today the anniversary of Black Monday? I know Black Monday was October 19th, right? So yeah, so October 19th, 1987, Black Monday. So yeah, so here's a breakdown of today's major U.S. and stock economic news for today. So this week is packed with earnings, like I've said. Big companies that dropped this week: Tesla, Visa, and Boeing are the three companies that drop earnings this week. These are going to play a key role in market direction, especially after mixed Q3 earnings results. Tesla and Boeing are expected to reveal big updates about the company, especially after Tesla's robotaxi event. You know, a lot of people are going to be tuning in to Tesla's earnings report. So investors are also watching inflation data and the Fed rate hike projections. Inflation has slowly been easing, but there's speculation about whether the Fed will finally pause aggressive interest rate. Okay, this is where AI gets it wrong. Yeah, the big speculation is whether we're actually going to do a pause in rate cuts. Because again, if we look at the actual probabilities behind it, you know, next week we got a lot of economic reports that come out that will influence what the Fed decides to do. If we look at the odds right now, we're pretty probable towards 25 basis point cut. Still 90+% thinking we're going to do a 25 basis point cut. Less than 10% thinking we're going to do a pause in rates. But despite recent volatility, the S&P hit a record high, driven by strong earnings. Bond yields rose slightly on the back of this economic data, signaling optimism about a soft landing. A lot of people are saying Plug Power is moving up this morning. Let me see. Is Plug moving up? Yeah, so Plug has been moving up yesterday. Today's market sentiment seems to be bearish, though. Well, the market's definitely down a little bit. You can kind of see Nvidia has been one of the stocks that leads the market recently, and in turn, the SPY is down. Here's silver up there. Some stuff that's doing well, though. Gold has been pumping up. It's at 2750s for gold. That looks pretty strong. Nvidia platform Blackwell will cost $500,000. Insane. Did companies just invest billions into Nvidia hardware? Yeah, dude, it's going to be so busy next week, man. Again, just to give you my schedule for next week, guys, if you want to break down and like what I'm going to have to do next week, right? So next week, let's talk about Monday first. Monday, a little bit slower than the rest of the days, but still not what I would call slow necessarily here. Monday morning, we got On Semi, Centerpoint Energy, Acadia, Alexander's Alliance, Bank of Marin, Bank of Hawaii, Royal Phillips, a bunch of other stuff, and that's basically it. But Tuesday is when everything starts, right? Also, I forgot to mention this, Monday evening, we've got Ford, we've got F5 Networks, we've got Waste Management, a couple other stuff. But Monday's the slowest day next week. Every other day is pretty packed. Tuesday, we have the JOLTS report. Early in the morning, we have SoFi earnings, Tuesday morning. So SoFi earnings early Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. SoFi releases earnings. They're expecting 4 cents per share. Let's take a look at SoFi. I haven't seen this one in a minute. Again, SoFi doing pretty well the last couple. I mean, if we look at like a 20-day chart, SoFi is up big percentages, right? It's up $2.50 a share at $7.50 of a stock. So it's basically up 33%. Yeah, it's up 33% since October 1st. So in the last 21 days, the last 3 weeks, it's up 33.3%. So that's a big, it's a big increase for SoFi. Yeah, it's a pretty big increase. Not exactly that. It's a little bit over 10 now that I think about it, but it's up more than that. Then it's up over 33%, probably like 35% or whatever it is. And again, they drop earnings Tuesday next week at 7 a.m. We also have PayPal that morning. We have BP, Pfizer, McDonald's, Tenet, Enterprise, Royal Caribbean, Crocs, JetBlue, American Tower, all Tuesday morning. And then Tuesday later in the morning, we've got the Case-Shiller House Price Index. So if you want to gauge what happens with real estate prices specifically, you know, that drops next Tuesday. And then we've got the big one, which is CB Consumer Confidence and the JOLTS report. The JOLTS report's big, by the way. That drops 10 a.m. on October 29th at expecting 8 million jobs for the JOLTS report. Wednesday next week. Oh, just to clarify as well, Tuesday evening, right? So Tuesday evening, we've got AMD, Google, Chipotle, Snapchat, Visa, Reddit, and we will be streaming probably AMD and Google, really. So we will be streaming these for sure. And so that's what we're asking people. And then there's a whole gang of earnings. Like next week, we've got ADP non-farm employment, prelim payroll numbers. We've got GDP data at 8:30. Wednesday morning, we've got like Eli Lilly, Caterpillar, Humana. Wednesday evening, we've got Microsoft, Supermicro, Semiconductors, Meta, Coinbase earnings, Etsy earnings, Hood earnings, Riot earnings, Carvana, Starbucks, Airbnb, Roku, eBay, MGM, and just it's next week's. We're gonna be busy all week, and that's fine. Because the last couple days have been slow. There just hasn't been any economic data. Hasn't been any big stock market news in the last 2 weeks, really. Nothing major here. Where's GameStop at? I know one thing that I'm really happy to see with GameStop. And again, I think this was a really obvious choice. But this is something that if you've listened to me talk about GameStop, which I know a lot of you guys have based off of who was here early in pre-market. If you listen to what I say about GameStop, something that I've been very, very consistent with is saying GameStop needs to pivot and they need to do it now. And then number two is I've been saying that GameStop should get into collectibles. They should get into collectibles, Pokemon cards, sports memorabilia. They should get into that. And it's really good to see that GameStop is now pivoting. They're still doing used video games, which again is a dying market, will eventually fail. But now GameStop is pivoting to collectibles where they're going to buy Pokemon cards from people. Now, the limits are a little ridiculous, I think, but I understand them. Where the limits are they're not going to buy anything over $500. So you're not going to be able to go there and sell them your super rare cards. And honestly, if you have one of those super rare cards, you probably don't want to bring it to GameStop anyway, because they're going to pay you 30-40% less than the card's actually worth. But it's good to see that they're getting into some type of market like that. The only problem with it, though, and the only area I think they're messing up here, is I think they need to get people in their stores, right? And so I think collectible people who own some of these cards, they're going to understand if you go to GameStop, like, you're going to get 30% less than that card's worth, right? Like, that's a different thing versus you going and selling the card or trading the card to an actual, like, comics or collectible store, in which they're going to give you much better margins for what you have. You know, so I guess the point is if there's a comic book or a collectible store within a reasonable range of the person, they're not going to choose to go to GameStop and lose 20%, right? Like, they're going to go to the more profitable venue, and that makes sense, right? So I think GameStop's making a mistake being so cheap with it. I don't think they can treat collectibles in the same way they treat video games, because with video games, they were the only one. Like, they were the only people that were really taking in used games like that, versus like pawn shops and stuff. But with collectibles, there's going to be a lot of options that they have. And so I don't know, I think they might be being a little too cheap there, and I think their goal should just be to get people in their stores, and then people are going to spend more on other stuff, which is kind of like Costco's model. Costco just wants to get you in the store, right? Like, they offer things for cheap, they offer food for cheap, they offer a couple things that are very, very cheap, like pizzas and stuff like that. Why? Because their job is to get you in the store. They want you to go to the store. They know if you go in there, you're going to start buying stuff. And so they don't care losing money on specific products if it gets your foot in the door. And I think GameStop should take this. No, I don't think they should lose money. But I think they should pay fair market value for some of these cards, just to get people in the door, and then maybe people buy video games and supplies and gear or whatever it is. And what time is Tesla's report? Tesla's report is Friday evening. All right, so Tesla's report, Wednesday evening at Tesla releases on the 23rd at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So right after the closing bell is when they release their earnings call for Tesla. Tesla, my problem with their earnings calls, they always do it really freaking late for me. So I would rather them start the earnings call earlier than they do. Yeah, so it's going to be at 5:30 Eastern Time. So the earnings, so this is an hour and a half after they drop. They won't buy cards over $500 is what I showed. Hey, what's up, Beach? Thanks, man. Oh, can they do that? Is GameStop doing that where you can get them graded at the shop too? I'm a big Pokemon guy, man. I grew up. I'm into it less as an adult, of course. But when I was a kid, I was into it, right? Like, when I was a kid, we used to, in the 90s, we used to sit at the bus stop and you know, trade Pokemon cards. Me and my friends would sit there and trade Pokemon cards. You know, there's a difference, though, that I can't help but notice the difference, right? So the reality is, back in the day, in the 90s, you know, it felt like you could get a pack, and when you bought a Pokemon card pack, like, the chances of you getting something valuable were much, much higher. Like, much, much, much higher, you know? And I just feel like they've diluted it so much to where you buy packs now, you're almost certainly not getting something good, you know? Like, I've bought probably 30 packs of Pokemon cards with my son. Never once have I gotten anything worth over $100. Never once have I gotten anything really over $50 out of 30 plus packs. And I think that, like, they've definitely diluted it down. In the 90s, man, you get, you know, if you buy 30 packs, you're going to get something worth $100, you know, and they're still making their money, but it still gives an incentive to the people opening it. And I think they've changed it so much to where it's just not nearly as, yeah, it's not as exciting because you never get anything good now. Maybe I don't understand it as much anymore, but yeah, they'll send them off to get graded by PSA. Hey, that's good. Virtual AI card grading. I don't know, man. I think the NFT thing got big for a while, but I think it's starting to lose steam. And I think the NFT market losing steam is also something that helped collectibles, physical collectibles, gain interest. You start thinking recession-resistant investments. I don't know. What makes you think we're hitting a recession, Zach? Genuine question. Curious. It's all good. Again, we could if we don't agree, it's all good. I always try to preface everything with that. But what makes you think we're gonna hit a recession? Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's good. You got a record of everything. That's nice. Yeah, we're going to try to get up a little bit earlier today. So here's some of the questions that they're going to ask during the Tesla Q3 earnings call. Is Tesla still on track to deliver the most affordable model next year as mentioned by Elon earlier? And how does it align with your AI and product roadmap? When can we expect Tesla to give us the $25,000 non-robotaxi regular car model? What is Tesla doing to alleviate long waiting times on service centers? When will Tesla incorporate X and Grok in all of the Tesla vehicles? What's going on with the Tesla Roadster? Provide an update on the Semi, what the next stage of growth will look like, and when will FSD be fully ready? What's the Tesla plan for 2025? Will Hardware 3 be capable of level 5 FSD? And more, when will Optimus begin shipping? So there's a lot of questions here about FSD, the Cybertruck, Optimus, robotaxis. Yeah, well, honestly, it's kind of crazy how many celebrities got involved with the NFT market and basically just rug pulled their audience. It's kind of crazy how many big time celebrities got involved with it and just kind of rug pulled their audience. And again, it's hard to avoid some of the sketchy stuff. Like, I remember some sketchy companies reaching out to me. Luckily, I never really, I had one that was like a diamond mine. A diamond mine. I mean, like overseas in like Egypt or something. And I didn't know what it was. And then I respectfully declined once I figured it out. And so, but yeah, a lot of weird stuff. They were reaching out to me, trying to pay me and all kind of stuff. So. Yeah, man, the NFT market, like you can look at Google Trends. Like you can look at Google Trends and just search NFTs and you can just kind of see the difference, right? Let me see if I can figure it out. Google Trends. And you can just kind of like look at it for the past 5 years. And just see the difference now. So like, look at the difference, right? So here's NFTs over the past. Here's the Google search term NFT over the past 5 years. And so obviously 2021, massive amount of interest. And then, but since then, NFTs have kind of slowly but steadily to where, look at this now. Basically, nobody cares. Nobody's searching for it anymore. Yeah, gold is breaking highs this morning. Yeah, gold got up to 27.52 for gold this morning. Here's gold. Again, 27.52. So gold's been pumping up some. There's always rumors of that but nothing. Where do you, like, give me your source. Because again, there's always been rumors of that and I know that's something in which, like, when you look at a lot of these companies, they're producing, let's check it out. Let's look up some news. The only thing that we're seeing now is military exercise. So let's take a look at some of these microchip companies. So Nvidia is highly dependent on Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company TSMC. It's TSM is what it is. And yeah, TSM is down under $200 now. I think there is some fears here regarding it, but TSM's been up big. I think they had earnings, right? So TSM did have earnings recently. AMD also relies on Taiwan semiconductors. Intel, QCOM, Broadcom. But TSM is also moving some of its operations to the United States. It's been investing heavily in building new manufacturing facilities outside of Taiwan, particularly in the U.S., to mitigate the risks associated with geopolitical tensions and supply chain disruptions. They're building one in Arizona. They're building 2 advanced semiconductor fabrication plants, fabs. The first plant is set to produce 5 nanometer chips beginning in 2025, and the second will produce we'll focus on producing 3 nanometer chips, the most advanced tech available so far. So their efforts to diversify their manufacturing footprint and reduce dependency on Taiwan as the sole production hub. It's going to take some time though, but they think 2025 some of these plants are going to open, and we'll see, Yeah, I see Lightbridge company push up. LTBR is ripping up. Look at it, it's at 845s. It's got to have some type of news, right? Let's take a look. Bitcoin right around 70K. All right, so Lightbridge shares after CEO notes strong nuclear demand. One of the company's top executives was interviewed on Schwab Networks, Trading 360, about developments in the nuclear industry. And so that's causing them to move up starting last week on the 18th. So again, they're up on like uranium news, nuclear news. They went on one of the Schwab shows. But what's the float? It's got to be a small float, right? I believe the best strategy for this month and the next 20 days is to hold your cash and then make a move. Pretty confident World War III is coming. Yeah, but listen, man. It's an election year, brother. Like, people have to be resilient to this type of stuff, man. Like, I hear this nonstop. And people, and again, I could certainly be wrong here, right? Like, I always want to preface this with, like, I could definitely be wrong about all of this. Like, the problem, though, is that people are so wrapped up in like, it's an election year. And so the news of it's the end of the world scenario is much greater. It's much higher. It's more heavily produced. And it's something that you want to be understanding about, right? Like, you have to understand it's an election year. And so one side wants to make you think the other side is doing the worst it could ever be, and that it's the end of the world scenario, and cough, cough, elect our guy, basically. Cough, 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 right? Like, that's what happens during election years. And so I think you can listen to some of this stuff, and it's important to understand everything that's going on in the world. You also want to take it with a grain of salt. Like, you got to understand where you got to understand both sides and what they're pushing, right? Because again, you got to understand predicting crashes, recessions, war is very difficult to do. You know how many people have come to the stream and told me it's the end of the world, we're going to hit a recession. 3 years ago, it was a recession. It was like, oh, we're going to hit a recession imminently. And then a recession didn't happen. And then it said, oh, well, we're going to, have a hard landing, hit a recession. That didn't happen. Then it was like, oh, the stock market's going to crash. And then that didn't happen. And now we're on an election year, and it's an election year, and so now they're pushing, oh, it's the end of the world scenario. And I'm just here to tell you, it certainly doesn't have to happen. people universally predict these type of things during election years. Not universally. People heavily predict these things during election years, but that's just usually news from one side, and it's definitely not something that I would say is easy to predict. But maybe I'm wrong, and I guess it certainly could happen. I guess it's just better to be resilient in these type of situations because you hear it a lot during election years, I guess is the point. What's worse, a crash, recession, or prices tripling on everything we consume? I think inflation's worse right now. I would rather us go into at least a mini recession and have prices stabilize well versus us have the strongest economy ever, but prices are tripling. You know, like I would 100% absolutely rather us go into a mini recession and have price stabilization versus the other outcome. You know, and you have to understand that as well. Prices are crazy high. That's the big problem. And again, when I say this, when I'm like, hey, why do you think we're going to hit a recession? Why do you think the market's going to crash? Why do you think all this stuff? A lot of the time I just get crickets. And so I think sometimes the people saying it don't even know why they're saying it. They're just kind of repeating something they saw political, like something a political person said or something political news said. And again, on both sides, I just try to avoid it completely and just stay out of it because in the end, nobody freaking knows. Right, every single election, it's the end of the world, right? Like, and again, I've experienced enough elections to see it, right? Like, every single election. What do you guys think is more probable? That every election year, it's the end of the world, and the fate of humanity is on the line, dun, dun, dun. You know, or politicians just do a good job marketing their candidate in that regard, right? Like, what do you think is more probable? You know? And again, this might make some people upset. I'm really not against you. Like, I get tired of the pushes towards this type of stuff during elections. I'm ready for it to end, right? I'm really ready for the election to be done. And I'm pretty excited it's going to be over in 3 weeks. Really, it's less than 3 weeks. This is like 2 weeks away. We got 9 days, 10 days plus, yeah, in 15 days, and 2 weeks and a day, it's the election time. I'm ready for it. Yeah, LTBR running a big, I'm trying to figure out why it's up. I think it's just strong nuclear demand. CEO noted strong nuclear demand on Schwab. They went on the Trading 360 Schwab Network show, and they said something about strong nuclear demand, and so Lightbridge. I'm trying to see what the float is. Float is only 13 million shares, so it's a tiny float. It's going to move a lot, too. Nvidia down there though. Now, where's lifetime highs on Nvidia? Didn't it break this recently? Yeah, so it got up to 140.89 recently. I still tend to think that we're gonna go down some. So if I had to pick something, wait. Okay, so we got into a longer term trade where we just kind of bought this dip. And so check it out. We're gonna go ahead and sell and get out. We made 50 bucks on one micro contract. You love to see it. We'll see if we keep it up. We're gonna start day trading some too, closer to the opening bell. So you just use VWAP and 200 EMA as indicators. I use a lot of different stuff. I trade a lot of different ways and have a lot of different indicators on my charts. I have 4 monitors that y'all can't see. And so, yeah, we trade a lot of different ways, doing a lot of different stuff. And again, if you haven't already, check out TopStep. TopStep funded account program and futures. This is the biggest edge in funding right now. If you want to use a funded account program, this is the one you should be using, in my opinion. I'm biased, of course, but look at the fees, right? Look at the 74 cents in fees per trade. I just made 50 bucks using one micro contract, so I can trade small on TopStep and have no commission. And my fees were only 74 cents out of $50, right? That's the only thing they take. If you trade futures anywhere else, you're going to get charged more commission most likely. And again, on Top Step, there's no PDT rule. You can day trade in the futures market. In the futures market, I can day trade the S&P, NASDAQ, gold, some currencies. Patterns are very similar to blue chip stock patterns. They're the most legit funded program in the world. And again, they give you a demo, test your skill with it with a demo account. It's a 50K demo for the base one. If you make 3K in that demo without losing 2K first following their rules and conditions, they fund you 50K with a 90% split. They paid out over $40 million to their traders. It's a great way to learn how to day trade. Most day traders lose, and if you don't use something like this, you're probably going to lose, especially if you risk thousands of dollars. You're probably going to lose all of that. And so instead, your risk is $49 for the base one. It's a monthly subscription. If you lose, it's not the end of the world. If you pass it, you get a 90% split. And again, they pay out over $40 million. Split similar to funding yourself, and the risk is noticeably less. It's the biggest edge in funding. If you want to check them out, I'll put this link up. Great way to help support your boy here on this channel. Here's the link. Hey, thanks so much for the donation, STT. I appreciate the $5 donation, brother. Do you think the market is holding up because inflation is being factored into it, the price is essentially lifting them? Well, that's the reason the market always goes up, STT. It's one of the reasons the market always goes up. It's not the only reason, but inflation is going to happen, and that's going to drag stock prices higher, and that's an inevitability. It's going to happen. It's not something that it's not something that cancels out the gains. It's just how the stock market behaves. I completely understand your point. I am not biased, and I am not voting for. But we should admit that when polls changed in favor, markets reacted positively. Yeah, I mean, listen. Yeah. Yeah, but guys, look, man. I guess the point is, there's always that type of geopolitical uncertainty. It's always here. It doesn't matter who's in power, who has office. It's always here for the most part, right? During election years, it's magnified. They put a magnifying glass to it, and they say, look how crazy scary it is. And again, people act like right now is the craziest time in history, and of course it's not. The difference now versus 100 years ago is we've got news cameras focusing on everything 24/7. And so that's the difference. Crazier stuff happened 100 years ago, I promise. Think about World War II and the situations that led up to it. Crazier stuff certainly happened a long time ago. Yeah, we're actually in one of the most stable periods of the world history right now. But a lot of people don't understand that, and a lot of people get really wrapped up in political bias. And so I'm not saying there's not stuff brewing. What I'm saying is that you should be cautiously optimistic, I guess is the point. But again, I could certainly be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. I think part of my bias is I just hear people for the last 7 years, I've heard people predict stock market recessions, depressions, and they've almost never been right. Literally throughout the entire year, regardless of whether it's an election year or not, people that are really biased politically will predict these things. And then when they're wrong, they blame it on all these other things like they would have been right. And it just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. At a certain point, it's just enough, I'm not going to hold my breath waiting for it, I guess. Yeah, you just can't be married to one side. One of the interesting things I heard about, who was it? It was, I don't know if it was Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban was talking about how he paid somebody to find publicly available information on some of the worst companies listed in the U.S. stock market, right? He paid somebody basically a salary to find only public information about some of these really scammy companies in the stock market, and essentially had them dig up all this publicly available stuff to find what companies to short, and then shorted them. And he said he did super well doing that. I guess that's how short funds start, like Hindenburg and stuff like that. I think the key is it has to be true and it has to be public. If it's not true or if it's not public, then it's insider information or it's disparagement, right? But if it's true and it's public, it's allowed. I think the problem is a lot of those companies are going to be hard to find and locate shorts. Shorts are just most of the people you're borrowing shares from, when you short something, you're borrowing shares, writing it down, and then returning the shares to the person you borrowed it to. And the reason you do that is because like people loaning you those shorts are long-term investors who don't really care about short-term fluctuations. If you're holding Apple for 30 years, right, you don't care if it goes down 10% short-term, because you're gonna make 100+%, 1,000%, whatever you're gonna make over a 30-year period. And so you're able to loan those shares and cop an interest, even when it's not necessarily doing poorly or not necessarily doing well. You're still earning interest on loaning those shorts out, if that makes sense, right? But the problem with what I said prior to that about finding the worst companies in the world and shorting them is because a lot of the worst companies in the world do not have long-term investors, right? So you're not going to be able to locate long-term investors that are willing to loan you those shares out there, because there's not really anybody dumb enough to hold some of these companies long-term. It's one of the reasons you can't short a lot of penny stocks, is because they don't really have anybody that is holding something that long to where they're willing to loan you the shares out to short it. And so I hope that makes sense. That's what shorting is borrowing shares from long-term investors to short stuff. So it's an interesting thing where, I think it's all boils down to the margins of what you can find. Like, you got to be on your game. You got to find these companies that are not doing well that also have long-term investors, and get out before they crash too much, I guess. I married Nvidia to the moon, all in 100%. Hey, good luck, brother. Yeah, Nvidia is still doing well. It's sitting close to lifetime highs, right? It is sitting close to lifetime highs. Again, gold's up too. Again, we look at gold just broke lifetime highs again, did it not? Wow, look at gold up 27.50s for gold. So yeah, look at gold, 27.50s. All right, so short interest. Somebody's saying how to short interest. So are you talking about, Fu, are you talking about how, like, what interest rate the person holding the shares, loaning the shares out makes from shorting? Or are you talking about, like, the actual metric short interest, right? Because short interest refers to the total amount of shares that a stock has been sold but not yet covered or closed out. Basically, the percentage of people shorting stuff in any specific company is what short interest refers to. Now, if you're talking about now, if you're talking about the interest rate the loaner of the short shares makes, like, the interest rate the lender, typically a broker, earns when loaning out shares for short selling is borrow rate, or the short interest fee. It depends on the availability of it. So if a stock is widely available for shorts, basically ETB, easy to borrow, widely available, it tends to be low. Like, the rate you make from it as an investor loaning out those shares tends to be low. If the stock does not have a lot of people, or is not easy to borrow, and is what is called HTB, hard to borrow, then you're going to earn more. Probably because it's a riskier, more obscure symbol. And so if it's riskier and more obscure, the higher probability that it's going to fall down makes it so that they're going to charge more to loan those shares out, essentially. But most of the time it's the broker doing it. Hey, thank you, not so boring. Do long-term investors make money by loaning? Some of them do, right? Like, and again, you got to think about it in terms of, like, it depends on who it is, right? One of the businesses that your brokers make money on is that. Yeah, there's some brokers that, like, focus on that type of stuff. The actual short interest. Yeah, so the actual short interest is, again, it's the total number of shares of a stock that have been sold short but not yet covered or closed out. Basically, your active short positions. In other words, it represents the shares that investors have borrowed and sold hoping to buy them back at a lower price in the future, profit from the price difference, and return them to the lender. Investors borrow shares from brokers and immediately sell them on the open market. They do this with the expectation that the stock price is going to go down, and they later aim to buy the shares back at a lower price and return them to the broker, keeping the difference as profit. The way I always explained it, because I saw it in a video, is if I go up to my neighbor and a bag of sugar costs $1. And so I go borrow a bag of sugar from my neighbor, immediately sell that bag of sugar, put the $1 in my pocket, wait for the bag of sugar to drop down to 50 cents instead of $1, buy a bag of sugar for 50 cents and return it to my neighbor. And my neighbor still got a bag of sugar. He loaned out a bag of sugar. He got one back, right? But I bought one. I got $1 for that bag of sugar. When I returned it to him, it was only 50 cents. So I profited the 50-cent difference. That is what shorting is in a nutshell. And so, yeah. But the short interest percentage specifically is calculated as the number of shares sold short divided by the stock's total number of outstanding shares. So it's basically how many shares in the outstanding shares are short is the short percentage of the short interest. Supermicro semiconductor short interest, for example, shares. Yeah, what is the short interest? Look at gold, guys, still breaking highs. Gold just broke highs again at 2750s. So Supermicro semiconductor short interest here if we're talking about it. Yeah, AMD, GPT is getting very good, very good. So it gives me a little graph and everything. So as of the last available data on September 30th, Supermicro has a short interest of approximately 95 million shares, which is about 19% of its public float. So yeah, short interest is about 19% on Supermicro semiconductors, which is about 94.5 million shares. 95 million is what we're going to call it. Basically, it's 20% of it is shorting Supermicro. Yeah, all good food. Recession in 6 months to a year. Warren Buffett cites his Bank of America to under 10% to hide the fact he's selling and he's stockpiling cash to the point where we have more in cash instruments than equity. Maybe. He might also just be getting old, you know, and ready to start unloading stuff. Right, for sure, pawn. Bullish news. Gold still falls. Or no, AUD. What is AUD? Is it Australian dollar? Yeah. I don't really watch that one too much. All right, look at gold breaking highs again, chat. Gold breaking highs again. Interesting. Well, people wanted to start betting on markets going down. So 20% for Supermicro semiconductor sounds high. I don't think so, Eric. I think when you got to think about it like this, Supermicro semiconductors has a very small float for a microchip stock. And so this thing is hella volatile, right? Like this thing moves up and down in huge percentages. If you look at a daily chart, you can kind of see how volatile this is. It was up over 100, which is over $1,000 pre-split, and has dropped all the way. So just in the last, just since June, right? Since June, Supermicro has gone down over 50%, right? Since June. It was at over $100 in June. It's now hit lows in September of $37 a share, basically $370 on a pre-split basis, right? So it's gone down dramatically. And you know, it's gone down, what is this? 67% at its lows, 67% decrease in the share price. And so anytime you get something this volatile, it's gonna be shorted, right? Like people are gonna try to gamble on this thing just because it moves up and down in such a big percentage. And so when it bounces back, people are shorting into it. They're making money on the short side because it's so volatile. They want to capitalize on the volatility. Yeah, all good. All right, guys. So gold at 27.50s here for gold. So gold's still breaking up. LTBR consolidating around the highs. Amazon down. Where's Meta at? Meta at 576s. No guts, no glory. Yeah, I guess. Just risky. Y'all be careful. So Pacira Biosciences hired Sean Cross as the pain management company's new CEO or CFO. The Wii robot. A lot of people are speculating on whether the robots at the Tesla event were actually robots or whether they had a human speaking for them. You know, I know I heard one that sounded like a freaking human. You know, so either the language models of some of these AI bots are so good. One of them sounded like a robot, and it was almost like, but the other one sounded like a freaking person. You know, and so one of them kind of. I was weirded out by some of them here. It was a human speaking. Where did they confirm it? Let's ask ChatGPT. So I asked AI, was Tesla's Optimus robots during the Wii robot event speaking by a human into a mic? I don't know, man. AI says Elon and his team highlighted the Optimus is still in development for advanced human-like interactions. While the robots were able to communicate basic info, the speech wasn't spontaneous or spoken through human input in real time. The voice was synthesized, part of the robot's autonomous systems, rather than being puppeted by a person. This aligns with Tesla's goal of making Optimus an independent AI-powered entity in the future. It's so, yeah, I don't see that. Where is the source? Yeah, one of them, because I saw one of the interactions, and when I looked at the guy, like, it was definitely a person, you know, and the people speaking to her even like, wow, this feels like a person. You know, you could tell they were either weirded out or they were skeptical. Yeah. Sources, trust me, bro. Yeah. Trust me, bro. It's cosmetic only. Tech is still pretty far off. Yeah, for sure. That's what I think so, too. But again, doesn't that make it look worse though? Like, what good does it do if you got a robot if it doesn't actually speak like that? You know, like, dude, anybody can, like, an example of this is I could put a speaker in a car, right, and drive that car around and act like I'm the guy from Cars and speak into a machine, speak into a mic and say, "Hello, I'm Steve the car," right? But wouldn't that make it look worse? Wouldn't that make me look desperate? Maybe that's why Tesla reacted so negatively from this event. I don't understand the purpose of if somebody's speaking into it through a microphone, why even talk about it? You know, because it makes it look worse. To create a bullish hype scenario, yeah, I get it. It just seems like a bad decision. movement of the robots mingling and the tech and the crowd was real. Well, and that's great, right? But I guess if that's the point, then why even have them speak to begin with, right? Why not wait and debut that later? Because like, I guess the point is it's very predictable in that anybody can predict ahead of it that that was going to be a huge criticism point in terms of like, okay, so you just got a human speaking through a speaker. Who cares about it then? Like, why even have them speaking to begin with? Why not just have them hang out and dance and high five? You know, you don't need to have them speak if it's not real, right? It just makes it look bad. It looks desperate. Yeah. Misleading, I guess, is the best way. And I like Tesla as a company. I think FSD is going to bring them there. But I just think that's unnecessary. Like, you know, that's unnecessary. Like, it's not impressive if you got somebody speaking through a mic. It's just not. Even if the walking capability is there, I heard they were walking around with remote controls as well, though, is what I heard. And I like Tesla as a company. I'm not hating on Tesla. I like Tesla. I just think that, like, if it's ready, debut it. If it's not ready, don't pretend like it was. By doing it now, you get investors to throw money at the company to potentially fund the reality of this bluff. Well, I mean, I think the stock price showed the opposite of that, though. The stock reacted very negatively to it, not positively. Look at Tesla's stock from the robotaxi event, right? And the earnings call this quarter is going to be even more important. But look at the dip, right? So here's Tesla pre robotaxi event is here. This thing dropped $20 a share, down to under that, really, where it's at now. And so I think, you know, if they wanted investors, they got less investors. They got more investors selling from this event. And I think that's one of the reasons why. But hey, I don't know. Yeah, like I could throw a mic in any car. I could throw a mic in any car and act like I'm a Knight Rider and I have Kit, you know, and say, hello, I'm the talking car, you know. But people are gonna be like, hey, that's not a talking car. That's John over there acting like a dummy, you know. And I guess that's the same vibe I got from this. All right, Amazon at 188. So let's see if it holds. Yeah, Uber stock went up, and understandably so, because there was more details on the robotaxi and what it was going to be. A lot of people were worried that Tesla was going to start its own standalone robotaxi company that essentially competes with Uber, right? So instead of calling an Uber, you're calling a robotaxi through Tesla, which still I don't think is a bad idea for them. But instead of calling an Uber, you call a robotaxi over, hop in that thing, and ride off. And so I think now that the news came out during the robotaxi event that they're going to be selling individual robotaxis to people instead, that's better for Uber, and in turn Uber goes up from it. I think that makes sense, you know. Yeah, they do. Oh, Tesla definitely dips usually after events. I told you guys ahead of this event that would probably happen. It's a buy the rumor, sell the news type of thing for Tesla. You see it a lot. Elon screwed up getting into politics. He definitely did. I think it's a bad. I don't know. Tesla stock's still strong, but it's volatile, and I think it's a mistake. Right, I think that's why Uber and Lyft went up, is that the cybercab might be specifically used with Uber or Lyft, where people use their cybercab to be an Uber or Lyft, if Uber and Lyft embraces it in that way, you know. I think if they don't, that's going to create a scenario where Tesla has to be the other company that does it, and that's a different thing for them. You sound like you hate a specific politician. I don't hate anybody. I don't hate it. I just like both sides. I'm very middle ground neutral. I'd rather just not get involved with it. I think, you know, I'm pretty neutral. You know, like I'm a capitalist, but as well as like, I'm a capitalist, but I also think like college should probably be free, like the rest of the world's standard. I think big money has gotten too involved with college to where it's ridiculous tuitions, and there should be like, I think a lot of it should be free. And so I'm a capitalist for sure. But again, if I told my honest truth, both sides would probably dislike me. And that's okay. In the end, I avoid saying all of it because I'm on social media anyway, so it doesn't really matter what I think. You're wrong, dude, about Lyft and Uber? Well, explain why. Maybe I am. I could be wrong. Yeah, I see LTBR pushing up. LTBR broke highs again, got up to 940s. And this is a nuclear company, right? Their CEO went on Schwab's show trading 360 and now it's up. Yeah, no offense. I'm just not going to buy anything based off of somebody in the chat's recommendation, STT. It's nothing against you, but as I am to you guys, y'all are just a bunch of random dudes on the internet. And so, no offense, but I don't really buy stocks like this anyway. Number one, it's up way too much right now anyway. It's up huge percentages from where it closed the day yesterday or Friday to where it is now. That's number one reason I'm not buying it. Number two is that I just don't know anything about it. It moves too much. It's probably a low float stock. What's the float of LTBR? Oh, I think I looked it up this morning. It's like 14 million, which is way too small for me to want to buy anything. When a float's that small, it's manipulatable. Yeah, it's 12.6 million shares. When a float's this small, it's manipulatable. What does that mean? It means that there's so little amount of shares out there available to the public that any big whale can come in and pump this thing up, or any big whale can come in and unload all their shares and crash this stock intentionally without even trying that hard because it's such a low float stock. Because of that, I'm not really investing in this. These are mostly for gamblers. No offense to you if you invested in it. I mean, make your money. It's not all gamblers. There's some people that might actually have an edge investing in this stuff. But for me, it's just not what I'm interested in buying. Hope you understand. I just don't invest in companies like this. It's too small. Up too much on hype. Time for Lyft, Uber to go up. Look at the look at the charts. Tesla disappointed, so Lyft, Uber goes up. Yeah, no, for sure, right? But again, I think there's a lot of reasons Uber went up from the Tesla robotaxi event. I think people see that the robotaxi is going to be less of a threat to Uber in regards to the business model around the robotaxi in general, as well as maybe a disappointing people. I agree. So I agree with you. Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm on the right, for sure. Socially, especially not. I mean, it depends, right? I'm very neutral, middle ground. I'm not really gonna... Again, let's go a different way. Again, if I told the truth, both sides would probably dislike me, and I guess that's why I'd rather keep it. I just don't get wrapped up in politics. I think the same. The election's the same every year. I think, or every election year, it's the same. And I just, you know... Stocks go up, stocks go down, follow the trend. Well, yeah, but there's also a thing called extension that I have to just be weary of. Alright, we're gonna get ready to start day trading futures. dollar failing. Time to run. Let's take a look at the US dollar. Yeah, I mean, this is pre-market for the US dollar, so the dollar's actually green on the day, no? Here's the Dixie. Alright, so here's the previous closing line right here. And then here's the US dollar. So again, does anybody genuinely think, like, look, again, you have to understand where people manipulate you through the Dixie of the dollar, right? So here is the US dollar value since 2010. This is the long-term trend. Today, we are right here. So in what way is it failing? Just genuine curiosity. In what way is it failing? I'd like to know. LTB nuclear stock is what's hot. Yeah, but it's up, what, like 30-something%? Maybe it keeps going up. I don't know. It's breaking highs again. That's true. But for me, it's just not. It's too much of a gamble, you know. Nobody really knows what it's going to do, whether it's going to go up big or down big. It's just too much of a gamble for me, you know. Like, it might keep breaking highs, but eventually it's going to correct. And when it corrects, it's probably going to correct a lot. And so for me, it's just not my style. You know, but if you can make money on it, make your money. I'm not mad at that. What are your thoughts on OKLO? Up 105% a week. I don't know anything about this company. It is up a lot. What's the base of this company? What is it? It's advanced nuclear energy technology. So the nuclear sector is up, right? So that's probably why LTBR is up as well. It's just the nuclear sector in general. It produces nuclear reactors designed to recycle nuclear fuel and can operate for decades without needing to be refueled. Their main product is the Aurora reactor, a small and advanced reactor designed to produce power in a more modular, scalable manner compared to traditional large-scale nuclear plants. Their reactors are designed to emit zero carbon emissions during operations, making them a solution for reducing reliance on fossil fuels and contributing to global decarbonization efforts. Their business model aims to deploy these reactors in remote areas or places with limited energy and infrastructure, and also serve to industrial clients who need reliable and uninterrupted power. Yeah, nuclear stock. Interesting. I mean, it's up. Trading is about making money. Yeah, for sure. I agree. Make your money, man. I'm not, again, people have different styles. I'm just not the type to buy, I'm just not the type to buy up like low float stocks like LTBR trying to capitalize on the nuclear sector right now. It's just not my style of trading. I would rather invest long term, buy blue chips. You know, the edge that you get investing in blue chips is much higher. If I'm gonna short term trade, I'm just gonna trade futures most likely. You know. So that's how it goes. But everybody's different. Alright, we're gonna get ready to start day trading. We're up a little bit today. We bought a small trend trade. We'll see if we can keep it up. I keep hearing this noise. I'm trying to think about what it is. Put my thing up here. Y'all hear that? Discord has a different direction. Drugs still going crazy. DRUG symbol. What is this? Bright Minds Bioscience. It is honestly going crazy. But to quote my guy Kid Cudi, sometimes what shines isn't always gold, and sometimes what moves big is not always the right thing to day trade. You know, I mean, this thing went up to $80, went all the way down to 47s. Now it's back up to 57s. Hit high is almost 80. Yeah, it's just risky, guys. Y'all be careful. I'm not saying it's gonna fail. I think it's just risky. The question is, does Tesla bounce back leading into their earnings report? So after the robotaxi event, Tesla's down huge. Does Tesla rebound leading into Wednesday is the question. My like intuition says we're gonna have a red day today, but I have no freaking idea. I might be wildly wrong. Which direction do you guys think the market is headed? Red or green? Sam Altman? Okay. But your channel would be better if you help us with exciting stocks. I disagree. Right, so Jimmy, listen, you can look at penny stock traders. I get more views than almost all of them. And again, maybe not today, because the last few weeks have been boring for economic data. But I'm mostly like an economist / long-term investor, as well as like a futures day trader. So I'll day trade, but it'll be futures. But if you look at like an FOMC stream, I'll have thousands of people. You watch a Jerome Powell speech, I'll have thousands of people. You watch a CPI stream, I'll have thousands of people watching, right? I've been there, done that. I've traded penny stocks. Again, most of that market is a gimmick. Most day traders in penny stocks fail, and the market is just sold on penny stock gurus selling courses to susceptible new traders who don't have the bankroll to day trade futures or larger cap stocks, right? And so they promise them the world. They make them think that they can take a $500 account and get rich, and that blinds them, you know, with confirmation bias. I want to believe that I can win the lottery every day. I want to believe that I can take a $500 account and turn it into 50K in a month or two, learning some penny stock system. The problem is that it really ain't like that, and the volatility and the variance, the variance is so freaking high that there's almost no edge doing it. But new traders who don't have that much money, that want to believe that they can have some great system day trading $6 stocks, fall for it hook, line, and sinker, and end up paying for the courses and then being so desperate to believe that they paid for something valuable when it's total nonsense and most of it's publicly available, that they go around preaching how profitable they are. Most of the time they're lying to people. They're telling everybody they're making 20K a week and like all this different stuff. It's just a toxic market, to be honest. I try to avoid it completely. Green, Tesla into the earnings release. They make a lot of those. One of the guys started what he said autonomous wrong. How did he pronounce it? Autonomous? All right, chat. We got 30 minutes here. Yeah, I'm just hanging out, guys. And again, you can agree to disagree with me. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is some type of system. Like, it's all love here. Like I said, we can agree to disagree. I hope you guys understand. I might disagree with you there. If you get emotional, you know, you might get disrespectful. But if as long as you're respectful, it's all love here. We can agree to disagree. You know, I just avoid those markets. 0.5 percentage. Oh, you do mean 50 cents or 0.5%, Nathan? Because 0.5% is really not that bad. You know? Yeah, it's all good, Jimmy. Listen, y'all can like different stuff, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm right and you're wrong. You know? So y'all can like different stuff, and that's okay. Yeah, I started at penny stocks, even eventually graduated towards like blue chips, moved to futures, started covering economics, and that's where I am now, is economics. I like economics, long-term investing, and futures more than all of them. Because why do I like those industries, those niches more? Is because the odds of success are higher, right? Like most traders, the reality of it is you can day trade penny stocks and spend your whole freaking life day trading penny stocks. The reality is, if you DCA'd into blue chips or index funds long term, you would make much more percentages. much greater percentages on average in profit versus learning how to day trade penny stocks, right? And so that's where a lot of traders get lost. You know, futures market, you can day trade futures and get around the PDT rule, get much more leverage, get much more stuff versus day trading stocks. And it's one of the reasons like I promote the futures market is because the futures market allows you to do more stuff like that. No PDT restrictions. You can day trade futures. I can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, the Russell, gold, some currencies, no PDT restrictions. I can day trade short, all that good stuff, no PDT restrictions. And these funded account programs limit my risk. And so regardless of how good I am, I can get started in futures for 49 bucks. If I pass their test on Top Step, which is the most legit one in the world, if I pass their test and I make 3K without losing 2K in the funded account demo, they give me a demo, they test your skill with it. If I pass that, they fund me 50K, 90% split, some of the best rules in the game in funding. 0 commissions in futures on Top Step X. And even if I lose here, and most day traders lose regardless of where they go, it's a lot cheaper than funding my own account and trying to look cool on the internet, right? And that's why I always try to tell people, like, it's going to be a lot cheaper. Most day traders lose, and it's cheaper to lose on Top Step. And if you're good enough, it has the best rules in the game and funding altogether, and there's 0 commissions, right? But a lot of people, like the trading markets, yeah, there's a lot of variance and stuff. Here's the link if you want to check it out. You're right on blue chips by DCA method. Yeah, I mean, listen, I talk about it all the time. I talk about it all the time. If you want to day trade futures in a funded account program, right? If you want to make the best edge that you can, DCA into index funds, blue chips, gold, NASDAQ, Dow, whatever you want to do, real estate, that's going to be the biggest edge. Like, again, I do this math a lot because I think it's important for people to understand, like like Warren Buffett described compounding interest as what, the 8th wonder of the world, the 9th wonder of the world, something like that. I can't remember how many wonders of the world there are now, but it's something like that. And the reason he did is because let's say you got $300,000 and you make 10% a year, right? In what, 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, regardless, you'll see in 20 years, we'll do 20. In 20 years, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. In 20 years, you'll have $2 million from that $300K investment. Now, you can get 10% investing in a lot of different places, right? You can get it in real estate investment. You can use real estate investment trusts and earn dividends from it. You can get it in gold usually. You can get it in the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow. You can get it in a lot of different markets, right? A lot of different markets. And it's passive. You know, you invest, you let it sit, and you're going to make big returns like this. And it's guaranteed. It's the single biggest edge in markets overall. But it's not the most exciting thing. You know, it's not the most exciting thing. The problem is, like, a lot of young people, they're lost and they want to, maybe they're unemployed. Maybe they don't have a job. Maybe they failed in some business endeavors and they want to look cool, right? Like, they want to feel successful. It's the same reason, like, it's the same reason companies like Herbalife scam people. Is because they give them a fancy nickname of, like, hey, you're going to be an account representative. They give them some fancy nickname and they feel successful, even though everybody kind of knows they're not, by telling themselves that they're a distributor for Herbalife or one of the other multi-level marketing schemes. And so people do the same thing with day trading, where they want to seem successful. You know, and again, if you told somebody, hey, I won 20K at roulette, they're going to be like, man, this dude's a freaking degenerate gambler. But if you tell somebody you made 20K day trading, they're going to be like, dang, dude, this is a whiz kid. This is a prodigy. This is a genius, right? And so that's what gravitates a lot of people towards day trading. In day trading, you can make money, but it just takes a long time to do it. But once you learn, it's an edge you'll have for the rest of your life. But you got to trade the right markets. And I think the futures market is broad enough where you can day trade gold, you can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, like all these different markets you can day trade in futures. There's less red tape. And so if you try to day trade in stocks, you're going to need 30 grand to do it. You know, you're going to need 30 grand. You're going to have to risk 30 grand if you want to really get your reps in and day trade actively. And that's a problem for most people. And so most people end up putting that money up and just losing all of it because the PDT rule is ridiculous. It makes a new trader who has no risk management skills that wants to day trade actively more than 3 times a week, risk $25,000 to do it. What a dumb rule. It's really just allowing banks to sit on your interest, sit on your money longer to earn more interest. But they'll never admit that. But it's ridiculous. That's why the futures market's valuable. What I enjoy most about your channel is that you have adapted over the years. You realize quickly. Yeah, I mean, day trading can be powerful, but yeah, I mean, body bag, listen, man, I can just tell, like, you're so desperate to criticize, you know, like you're literally criticizing, like, okay, let's do 30K. Okay, you invest 30,000. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. In 20 years with 30K, you will have $202,000. Roughly, give or take. It's not going to be exact. Like, you might make more, lose more. Just depends on the market in that 10, 20 years period. It's just a point of compounding example. You know, and again, people, you could use this in terms of like a house, right? What's the average price for a home? $300K. Yeah. He's almost certainly like a different name that, you know, that created a new account just to troll for whatever reason. It's all right. It gives some a little spice to the channel. I mean, he'll probably get banned for life, but it's okay. Market is always evolving. Yeah. No, there's nothing like that, Mars. Nothing like that at all. And again, we're going to day trade. All right, so we're going to day trade live like we always do. Timeshares are mostly scams, Ruma. They're mostly scams. You know, there's a story. I went to Six Flags with my wife when her and I were dating still. Right? We were dating. We went to Six Flags, and you know, the people are predatory at Six Flags with timeshares. And so what they did was they had the little spinning wheel, this little spinning board. And so I would spin the board, and if it would land on the thing, oh, you win a free trip to Florida, guys. You win a free trip to Florida. So I spin it, I win it, and I'm like, man, I just won a free trip to Florida. You know, super pumped about it. Like, yeah, I went. Honestly, I was naive. Looking back on it, like, of course I didn't win a free trip to Florida. Like, that would never be sustainable or profitable. I mean, you want a free trip, but it's a timeshare event, so they're going to make you sit through class after class of nonsense where they hard sell you on these timeshare events. Then they're going to stick you in a freaking motel, right? So really, they're spending like $30 a day on you, and they want to hard sell you for that full, like, however many days. The problem with timeshares is that it has misleading marketing, limited usefulness. Like, you could buy a timeshare. You're gonna, like, most people buy these timeshares and they don't nearly get the value they want from it because you got to share it with somebody else. You're gonna have unfavorable, like, slots of time. There's a lot of hidden and misrepresented costs. They depreciate generally invaluable. They're hard to exit, so you can't really exit easily. Maintenance fees, upfront costs. They use high pressure sales tactics. Like, timeshares are mostly scams. Yeah, so Nvidia is mostly flat right now. Looking into the opening bell, it's mostly sideways. Dude, I got another black eye today, chat. This is like my freaking 6th or 7th black eye this year. Like, look at it. Is it right here? Yeah, look at that. You can kind of see it's a little yellow. This is like my 6th black eye this year, man. I got headbutted in Nogi on Friday. Ugh. Just got whacked, dude. Yeah, I said he'd get banned for life. Good day to you, sir. Predatory? I mean, listen, Casey, we can all agree to disagree, and it's all good. Casey says, and again, let's talk about it. It's okay. It's a good conversation. Maybe I'm wrong. maybe they're not all predatory. But I think, like, okay, Casey says, if you know how to say no at the presentations, you get the vacation at a low price and stay at nice condos. I've done them before and stayed at some nice places. Sure, but a lot of them are freaking motels that are going to cost $40 a day, you know? And so you're not really getting a lot of value. Like, you could pay a couple $100 more and not have to sit through those high pressure sales tactics. And again, it has nothing to do with, they're predatory specifically because the benefits of a timeshare far outweigh the risks, regardless of how nice the hotel is, right? Like, nobody's gonna guarantee, like, volunteer to pay for your vacation if they don't have like a bottom line that they're targeting, right? And so regardless of how nice the hotel is that you stay at, regardless of any of that stuff, they're definitely predatory because they're using high sales pressure tactics to sell you something that is incredibly risky, right? And there's a difference, you know. Even with how I promote things on this YouTube channel, I promote things and tell people, hey, look, they pay me money. I'm biased. If people choose to buy stuff on the back end, that's okay, right? There's a difference between that and telling somebody that's usually sometimes they're young, sometimes they're naive, that this is the greatest thing you could ever buy. And I think there's just a difference. And it's certainly high pressure sales tactics. And maybe it's not all of them. It's a large percentage of them, I would say, you know. Gotta do what the wife tells you, yeah. Nah, I got headbutted during no-gi. But you can tell people like Body Bag are like legit kind of just upset with their own life themselves. Like they're so what's the word? Resentful that like I have a following on YouTube that it makes them like create fake accounts and like try to like just attack it. It's like, dude, let it out, man. If you spent some of that energy doing your own thing, you'd be much more successful. But you let bitterness and resentment just, you know, waste your time, bro. Waste your time, man. Yeah, no, there's a whole business model where they try to help people get out of timeshares that they're stuck in, for sure. Timeshare vacations are worth it? I don't know, man. It's all subjective. You know, it's all relative to the person. Nvidia Batman TA formation. Nvidia is right at the previous closing price. So here's the previous close right here. So it's literally right there. You know, here's the previous closing price. And so Nvidia is sitting just at the break-even level. Like, this is the break-even level. This is the level at which it closed yesterday. And so it's still technically red on the day. We'll see if it breaks above it. Tesla down, though. And again, Tesla's leading into their earnings event this week on Wednesday. But they're down a lot. They were at almost, what, 260s a couple weeks ago for Tesla? Let me see. Oh, they were at 270s back in July. Beginning of October, they were at 263s. Yeah, so they were up there. So they have fallen from 260s down to 215, basically. $45 a share. Let's see what the percentage is there. Let me do the percentage math. What was it? Is it 265? Yeah, it's 265. Down to what? What's the low? 215. So that's almost 20% decrease. It's 19%. So Tesla has dropped 19% since the beginning of October. In 3 weeks, Tesla's down 19%. Do you guys think it bounces back a little bit from their earnings report, leading into their earnings report? Are you guys optimistic? What do you guys think? New show, How to Catch a Predatory Time Sale. Yeah. Why do some traders think technical analysis is a joke? I mean, I don't think it's a joke. I think it has its use case arguments for it. I just think you have to understand what has more weight at any given time. And sometimes that's technical analysis. But as somebody that watches like economic reports and data, economic reports and data generally have much more weight over technicals. And I think a lot of people overestimate the usefulness of technicals. Technicals have their use case arguments for sure, and they definitely have their uses. But a lot of people use them too much to explain everything and anything in markets. And I think that's what gives technical analysis a bad name, is because you'll have some people that use technicals to explain everything. You know, I say this before, but like if CPI comes in super high, like high inflation data, and the market drops 5%. Instead of saying, hey, inflation data came in high, the market reacted negatively to it, they're going to find some technical indicator nuance that they can blame on it. And instead of looking at it objectively and being like, yo, the inflation data was bad, prices went up, markets are fearful of that, they instead blame it on all these technical factors and act like they called some type of thing in technicals. It's just, I don't know. Technicals can work, but within reason. And that's just my own opinion. Maybe I'm wrong. I think the one technical aspect of everything that you want to pay attention to is extension. Like extension is something that you want to gauge regularly, regardless of what's going on. Yeah, I love swing trades. Swing trades are great. Tesla's too crazy. Who knows? Yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna put myself up here. Yeah, I like myself up there better. I actually like trollish behavior. Yeah, I mean, I can laugh at some like sarcastic comments, right? Like that's fun. But I think like coming from somebody that does YouTube, like some of it is fine. I'm trollish sometimes too. Like I troll you guys sometimes as well. But it's the spirit in which you do it. Like if you're doing it to have fun and joke around, it's one thing. But if you're doing it just because you're like lashing out, you know, I've had people who have worked with me before that get weird and then they kind of just lash out through that type of behavior. You know, the anonymity of the internet makes it so that, you know, and so it depends on what it is, right? Some people do it for the right reasons. Other people do it just because they're miserable, you know. All right, so Meta is one of the earnings companies that I'm really paying attention to this quarter. Meta has had a crazy big gain. So Meta is up from, what's it up this year? So Meta started the year off really way down here, man, at 350s. So Meta is up a huge percentage on the year. It was at 350s to start the year. It's now at 600s basically, a little bit under 600s. Yeah, so Meta started the year off exactly at 350. So percentage-wise, Meta right now is up 65% on the year. Meta currently up 65%. Yeah, I think he did too. I think he should have. I don't think he should have ever gotten involved with politics. I think regardless of which way you side with, if you're selling things to consumers, you have to recognize that like a heavy percentage of your overall customer base is going to be against you if you get one-sided politically, regardless of the side you're on. And so I think it's just a bad move. But he's got a higher net worth than me, of course, so what do I know? But all right, so I'm going to start to potentially short, and I'm going to take a longer term short here. So we're jumping in one position, short. We already made about $50 from this trade. Yeah, I mean, I stopped investing in them too straight because of that. But although Disney stock seems a little bit less resilient to it, and as well as like they're in media, so it's different, right? I think in media you gotta you always gotta take that into consideration. Where media companies, there's more flexibility with that type of stuff versus where you're directly selling products to consumers. You know, I think that's a different thing. So yeah, I'm short in this. I'll probably leave this up for at least a minute. All right, guys. I'll be right back. Oh. All right, guys. Sorry. Yeah, my kids come in here. No, I mean, like I said, I said the same thing. I think the difference, though, Tony, right? So, like, on both sides, I think the difference is Elon's very outspoken about it, where the other side is a little bit more. And again, I'm not really agreeing or disagreeing with any of it, right? I just think there's risks to do it for sure, and you see that in symbols like Disney as well. But I think with Elon's case, it's a different level of that, right? And so I think it's arguable, but I see your point. I genuinely do. And I'm not really super against either side. I'm really not. Like, it might seem that way, but I'm not. I'm very neutral politically. It's not like I'm just against that, but not against the other ones. I'm very neutral with all of it. And I think politics should stay out of all of it to begin with. But, yeah. No, so we're still here. I'm still watching the short. We're basically flat on it now. We're running into this resistance level here is what I'm looking at. We haven't really made money or lost money with it. Yeah, y'all hit the live button next to the play button. Make sure you fully catch up on the stream. Yeah, what's up, Solo? All good, man. Yeah, again, we're flat here. I probably will cut this before the opening bell. And again, we are in Top Step right now. Top Step's a powerful thing because, again, you can day trade and there's no PDT rule in futures. So I can day trade in the futures market and there's no PDT restrictions. I can day trade short, buy market, sell market, no PDT restrictions. And the big edge is, again, zero commissions. Look at the commissions right here. Zero commissions. I can day trade the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow, some currencies like gold. I can trade crypto, I think, in some ways, like micro Bitcoin. And so I can trade some things in crypto and in the futures market, and there's no PDT rule. And if you want to day trade, I'm here to tell you, please ignore the gurus trying to sell you courses. Most day traders lose. And so if you want to get your feet wet in day trading without losing all your money, basically, at least in most cases, I can't guarantee anything, but on Top Step, your risk for the base one's $49 a month. That's it. No matter what happens to that account, your risk is $49. If you lose the challenge, you're out $49. Not the end of the world. If you pass it, you get $50K in funding with a 90% split. And so the 90% is similar to putting the money up yourself. If you lose, your risk is under $50. And so it's the best of both worlds. It's limited risk. You can learn to day trade. If you're good enough at day trading, you can get funded, and they pay out millions of dollars. They're the most legit one in the world. But if you fail, you only lose what you pay for it. Again, if you want to check it out, here's the link. We're slightly up a little bit here. Slightly up. All right, so we did get a breakdown. We're up a little bit. We might add to this too, just so we can try to get some type of range out of this before the opening bell. I am going to cut this ahead of the open. I'll take 2 contracts here. Yeah, my daughter gets so stressed out going to school. She's a lot like me in that regard, where like I have OCD in terms of time. I don't like to be late for things. It depends on what it is, but y'all probably see that some, at least when I start streams. But my daughter, man, she's rough with it. Every morning she's stressed out. She's kind of at that teenage age where her social life is so important and everything like that. She's got a little boyfriend and stuff. She just gets stressed. All right, guys, we got 6 minutes left, really. We got a little bit of a cushion into the opening bell, which is good. We're mostly flat. Lens, L-E-N-Z. Yeah, I mean, the older the people are, the more they fear technology, for sure. Especially like big oil. Big oil runs the world, so like, I get it. But all right, we're probably gonna cut this pretty soon. We're sitting right around these highs, so if we break these highs, we're gonna get out. Nvidia is popping up a little bit too, though. Okay, we did get a little dip, but then we retraced all the way back. And Nvidia's bouncing up too, though. That's the problem. All right, we got 5 minutes. Wasn't NKLA the one that got caught pushing the semi-truck down the hill and got called out by the DOJ or somebody for fraud? Wasn't that NKLA? I know Lucid. Take it too long. I'm gonna cut it pretty soon. Yeah, we're out. We're still green on the day. We made $50 in a trade earlier, so we're up about 30 something now. All right, Tesla bouncing up a little bit. Nvidia bouncing up some too. We would have made money on that trade too. We're watching Nvidia, which just broke over the previous closing price. Look at Tesla bounce up to 219. See if that holds as well. Tesla up. $50, that's it. I'm not satisfied until I make $500 a day. I mean, that's probably the worst mindset you could have, Michigan. No offense to you, but again, $50 in pre-market before the opening bell has even happened yet is, I don't think, a terrible thing. It's small for sure, but again, I'm a huge trading wimp. I think most people lose their tail trading because they try to get rich, and that's just not what it is. You know, in order to make $500 to $1,000 a day, you need hundreds of thousands of dollars in your account to do so safely, I would say. All right, guys, 30 seconds. All right, guys. All right, there's the bell. All right, guys, Meta at 577, so we're watching that. And we're gonna run into this level here. Again, I'm gonna wait until the opening bell plays out first. Look at this big increase at the opening bell. It's mostly driven by Nvidia. Look at Nvidia push it up, even though Tesla's coming back down. Again, we're going to try to let a couple minutes play out first. All right, so look at Tesla coming down. Nvidia at 139s. I want to see if it's going to break lifetime highs here. I usually would buy this dip, but I'm going to wait and try to see if we get some better action first. So we got a big bounce back, starting to creep up there. Nvidia is very close to hitting the highs again. It looks like it's going to break it. Yeah, there goes Nvidia. Gonna take two contracts here, started the day off small. Flat so far. Took half off there, locked it in. See if we can get the more out of the rest. Nvidia just broke highs. The rest of the market kind of fell too. We already got a cushion on the day first, though. Very volatile. Right back up there. Nvidia's still churning up. Nvidia breaking highs again, still up there. Flat on this. This is taking too long. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this. So we're flat on that trade basically. We didn't really lose anything. We didn't really make anything. The problem is Nvidia's shooting up, market's pulling back down. We might buy this little pullback here. Tesla's still falling though. I'll take 2 contracts here. There we go. Alright, so we just made it right back. So we're green over the last little string of trades. I like the little dip we got, but look at Nvidia shoot up to 140s. And again, I'm day trading futures, chat. So if you want to try day trading futures without risking too much, try a funded account program. There's the link. Top Step's the most legit in my opinion. They pay out millions. Limit your risk in trading for sure too. We're going to try to buy a dip if we get one, just because Nvidia is so volatile. I feel like Nvidia is going to at least try to break lifetime highs. So we will take some size today, see if we can get in something good. 2 contracts. Might take up to 3 now. 2. There's 3. Alright, so we just cut it. Just made about $30 there. I should have held at least 1 in there, but that's alright. Again, sometimes high of the days can be like a magnet. You see this big yellow line? That's Nvidia's high of the day level. We get a retracement. We're going to take 1 contract here. Maybe add some size into it on pullback. Look at it go. It's 3 contracts. Take up to 4. Took a half off, locked in at least some. Grinding it up more. Alright, so we just made another $30 or $40 there. We're very close to lifetime highs on Nvidia here, so Nvidia is right at 140.50. Lifetime highs are 140.80s. We got a nice little string of green trades here where we made like 30 or 40 bucks. We're probably up about 100 on the day so far. Small, but that's okay. All right, here we go. We're about to test those highs. And if you could wait for days like this where the momentum's so obvious on the upside, these are the highest percentage days. We'll see if Nvidia holds it back though, or starts to correct. All right, so we're about to tap lifetime highs on Nvidia. Right at it. We're 15 cents away from lifetime highs on Nvidia right now, chat. 15 cents away. It tapped those lifetime highs. It didn't break it though. All right, we got 1 contract here. We're going to trade very small now. I don't trust it enough. We've already built up some profit. See if we can get some more with just 1 contract here. Might add to it too, just based off of the risk we have. Here we go. 2 contracts. Back up there. All right, now we're green. See if we can hold up here. Going back and forth. Really wants to run, but is struggling to hold. I'm gonna cut half of this right now. And then maybe buy into it. I want to see if Nvidia makes that second test of this level, but it doesn't look like it is. Well, we'll try it. Back up to flat. Back up to green. See if we get some more. I took half off. Didn't really get much from it though. I'm gonna add it right back. Alright, we got that one. So locked in some more profit. Flat on the trade so far. Well, I think Nvidia got very close to breaking all-time highs. I don't think it did though. Nope, didn't break it. Tapped it. The question is, does it break it now? Fighting back up for Nvidia, getting back up there. Let's see if it drags it up. I don't mind losing the profit that I have on the day by adding to this sum. We got 2 contracts now. Yeah, the problem is Amazon's breaking down, Meta's breaking down, Apple's breaking down, dragging everything else down with it. It was worth the swing though. Like, I don't mind swinging it for it here, because if Nvidia starts to, I think Nvidia wants to break lifetime highs up here. It just depends on how long it takes. We're still slightly green on the day for this trade currently too. So I'm trying to be patient. You can see that support level we drew earlier is still holding. But it depends on whether Nvidia makes another try here. And what I'm doing is I built up a cushion, so I'm taking a little bit larger risk with that cushion. What's slowing this trade down the most is Apple, Amazon, and other tech stocks falling. Apple's actually green, but Meta, Amazon are both down in the day. All right, we're back up to where we're kind of flat on the day, and Nvidia's starting to push back up. All right, yo, now we're flat again, so that's good. We're fighting our way back up there for Nvidia. I'm just gonna stay in this. Now we're green. I'm just gonna sit in it, I think. See if Nvidia drags it up some. Gotta wait though. Oof. Trap. I don't know, Nvidia's getting up there. Nvidia's at 140.30s. Chat, 140.40s. Again, luckily we got a cushion on the day, but Nvidia is what's influencing this, for sure. back up. I don't want to add to this. It's too much risk. I'm okay with just risking what I paid for it. So we're back up. Here goes Nvidia, getting ready to break highs. There we go. All right, I'm gonna limit my risk there. Would take one piece off of this. Nvidia's up there, about to break lifetime highs. At this point in time, we're not gonna lose money, which is good. It's right there. I'm gonna add to this now. All right, Nvidia's up there, it's trying. All right, we just took a little bit more off, locked it in. Nvidia broke highs just now, guys. All right, we got out of it as it broke highs. I'm too worried about it correcting all the way back down. So we were patient with it and let it work, but it took a while. Here's today's trade so far. Not too bad. We've lost 4 out of 20. 80%. I think. Could have let it go a little bit more. Look at Nvidia, almost up to 141s now. Yeah, sometimes these high levels can be like magnets. So once Nvidia started testing that high level, that's what we tried to capitalize on. Yeah, so good day so far. We'll see if we can keep doing it. And again, we're day trading in futures. If you want to day trade with me in futures, check out the link in the description. Again, they're an affiliate or sponsor of mine. They pay me money. I'm biased. But I genuinely think it's going to save new traders money. Most new traders end up getting wrapped up in trying to get rich. They end up risking $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 of their own money, losing it trying to day trade stocks. You can get your feet wet in futures. If you're good enough, get funded. If you're not good enough, only lose 50 bucks. And so I think that's the best way, in my opinion. If you want to learn more, check out Top Step. And yeah, this is what I was worried for. This is why I got out so soon, is because a lot of the time, like, we'll break these highs in like Nvidia as an example, and then we'll immediately come right back down and just dump down, right? Like this will happen a lot where we'll go up. I talk about this nuance a lot with markets where we'll go right up to the high of the day or lifetime high, tap it, and then immediately come break it down. The reason it happens is very obvious, which is that everybody's taking profit at those highs, right? It's one of the reasons high of the day breakouts don't really work well in markets, in my opinion, because everybody's taking profit around those levels. And so as an example, as Nvidia gets closer to these highs, this lifetime high level, which is now exactly at 141, what happens? Everybody starts taking profit, you know, sellers step in there. And so that makes sense. And it doesn't mean we're not going to break it again today. I'll move this up. It just means that sellers step in because everybody's starting to take profit. Now, Tesla's starting to bounce back. Amazon's bouncing back a little bit. Meta's still down. Apple's still pretty green, though. Tesla's fighting its way back. I might start shorting the top of this range if I can. Alright, I'm gonna short one. Maybe add to it. And we got 2 contracts. Now we're flat, slightly green. I don't really want to get stuck in Nvidia. So we took a piece off of there, but we're red on that last one. And then we'll get out the rest there. So we made money a little bit on this last one too. We're up over 100 on the day. We're just trying to lock in a little bit more. We were correct about that fake out rejection. We just kind of got a bad fill in the last little bit. I don't really like Lululemon. You guys know that. It's too, it's overhyped. And Tesla's up to 219 today, so it's not really down too much. Tesla at 219s, almost 220s. Look at Nvidia right at that high of the day level at 141. So let's see if Tesla. I don't trust it enough to ride it on the upside now. It's too horizontal in charts. Personally, I might be wrong. I don't know, but it's too horizontal for me in charts in terms of highs. So like it's too much like this. Potential, I think, but I might, again, I could very easily be wrong with this one. This one's super variance heavy. Yeah, there's a big dip. I feel like I'm shorting this end, but I think it's also very, very risky shorting at the highs up here. Alright. We were correct about shorting up there. I thought it was too horizontal. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna get out of here, guys. I'll see you guys later. Good day so far. We day traded. We made money. Again, if you want to check out Top Step, I'll put the link up. There's no PDT on Top Step. You can day trade short. This is what I'm trading on today. And again, if you want to use a funded account program, Top Step's the one. You know, there's no PDT rule. You can day trade short. The S&P, the NASDAQ, the Dow patterns are very similar to blue chip patterns. No PDT rule. Top Step's the most legit in the world. They give you a demo, test your skill with it. If you pass the test, they fund you. If you fail, you only lose what you pay for it. It's just limited risk, 90% split once you're funded. It's the best way to learn how to day trade, and if you're good enough and maybe don't have that much money, it's the best option. You can check out the link here. I'll see you guys later. I love you all. You'll have a great day. Tomorrow, we actually do have some earnings. So tomorrow specifically, we've got Verizon, 3M, GM, GE, RTX, Lockheed Martin, Quest, Phillips, Morris, Denny's, Kimberly-Clark, Danaher, Sherwin-Williams, and more tomorrow morning. So I'll be back tomorrow morning bright and early, guys. I'll see you guys later. Y'all be good.